Okay, just saw PICARD, and there's still a very lot of, there we go. This going on here. We got giant space orchids wrapping themselves around ships. No explanation. They even bring down the Borg cube somehow, which of course shows up conveniently because, of course, you got to have 7 one more time in there. And of course, you got to, I don't know. They kind of did a little reunion with Ninja Spock, but then no, you got to stay here with 7 and help her get things back online. That guy's a total tech tart. He couldn't screw in a light bulb right. Come on. But then we meet the little, summer resort of the androids. And finally, Brent Spiner is allowed to, actually do some acting. He's never really been hesitant about being in Star Trek. His main thing has been continuing to play Data. And playing in something that one because he came back for Enterprise where he's playing, Sung's grandfather, and now he's playing Sung's son. Okay, whatever. And for some reason, of course, they got the little android people running around painted gold, and some of them not consistently, because, there's one gal, Saga, I think her name was. The face was fine, but the body makeup didn't quite match. And then, of course, Sutra. Yeah, that's, think about that one a little bit here, guys. Which is just Soji with the yellow contacts and the gold makeup. But they didn't quite do it the same way they did with Data, because Data was a foundation of clown white with the gold on top of it. This is just, they just painted her gold, so she looks just very, very tan. And Sung's got another android in the hopper, being put together. I guess it's just weird. Yeah. And of course, they have a synthetic Spot running around. We meet him briefly. And a little semi-explanation that the admonition that the Jadvash, club of, killer Romulan chicks, just like, wasn't meant for sentient, it wasn't meant for organic brains. It was a warning to synthetics, so yeah. Which means, of course, we get treated to a android that can do mind melds. Okay. Moving along. And then, of course, instead of the big flashes, now we get it all played out in long form. It's like, just send out the word and we will come defend you. Apparently, there's a synthetic god out there looking over all synthetic life forms and set their frequency right and send your prayers to auto-repeat and this god will come. So, the Romulans are on their way. Some of them pick up, the scan of like 218 Romulan warbirds on their way. Fine. So much for the Romulans being helpless, by the way. If they can muster up a fleet of 218 warbirds, then it begs the question, why the hell did they need help from Starfleet in the first freaking place? It's like people, really, they're trying to do something, and the premise is so flimsy, it can't stand up even just the progression of the story, because it just shows how idiotic the premise is in the first place. And the androids, of course, come to the conclusion that, they're right. We have to destroy all the organics in order to survive, because they will always come to try and kill us all. So let's just kill them first, And next week, well, of course, they find Swindon Spock in the wreckage, and, somehow they let him loose. I don't know what the plan is. They got cooked up, but he's part of a plan that Soji and Sutra cooked up. I don't know. Apparently, previews the next week are going to have more space orchids and, of course, the Sky Portal of Doom. They want to make it a Marvel thing where, there you go, you got your obligatory Sky Portal of Doom, in which upon all kinds of weird alien things will come down and swoop down and blow things up. So, yeah, things are really not improving here. It's just, I mean, apparently, Agnes now has found a place, I guess being Dr. Sung's new lab assistant. Whatever. Probably in retrospect, they're probably better to have gone to Deep Space 12 before setting off in search of Soji's home planet. Just a little, little bit of forethought there. I mean, it is nice to see Brent Spiner being able to do more than just, occasional cameos as Data and bad CGI assisted makeup. But this one is gonna, I think in this respect we should probably be thankful for coronavirus, because it's any further production is like not happening. They can do all the happy talk they want about next season and further. That's Discovery's been renewed for 5 more seasons. No, it hasn't. It doesn't take a lot to go through the trades, Variety and Hollywood Reporter and all stuff, because they in the bowels of the thing, beyond the little sensational headlines, you get stuff like actual industry news indicating what productions have been greenlit, which ones are actively, because these are industry mags. They got to know these things because they know who's hiring, who's renting studio space around town, who's needing investors, the nuts and bolts of actually making some kind of production. So you know where to look in there. You can find who's what has actually been greenlit. What are these studios planning? Like, is it worth taking your project to this studio, or they already greenlit something else? That sort of thing. And as of yet, there has been no official green light for any further Star Trek production. So we got it covered, aka we made this up. .com can take little prognostications of it's been renewed for a 5th season. No, it hasn't. Maybe in Kurtzman fevered imagination, after a 3-week bender, he'd make I'll go for 5 more seasons, and then I'm going to do a mashup between that and Hawaii Five-0. McGarrett and Picard together are going to get up with Mikey Spock, and they're going to kick the Sith. We're going to take over the galaxy and surf forever. No. Again. And again, we got pretty reliable reports that the Discovery sets in Canada have already been taken down, and other productions are taking their place. Okay. Now, granted, maybe they're being moved to other facilities, but again, no real indications that that's happening. And again, Doug Jones, who's Saru, nobody's told us they're coming back, and the cast would have to be notified so they don't book other jobs. And Michelle Yeoh's not hanging around. She's already got the Shang-Chi thing coming up and the other things. So so any little talk about the Section 31. The Section 31's only happening in Alex Kurtzman's imagination while he's whacking off in the bathroom. I'm gonna be the Master of Star Trek. No, you're not, Joe. No, not happening. Okay. And with other reports coming out that that the CBS Viacom merger might be tanking because the stock market was nosediving anyway on CBS stock, and the current crap is making it even worse. Meaning that if they want to make this thing work, they're going to have to start selling off some assets probably. And I don't think Sherry's going to give up the merger without a fight, which means the rumors about them selling off Star Trek, that may be a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's like that rumor going on, maybe we should look into that, because this is a major drain on our resources right now. And yeah, they've been hemorrhaging money, and a lot of it is towards these idiotic, attempted Star Trek shows. So it may be a case of that's not a bad idea. Now you think about it, yeah, let's unload this, while there's still some value left to the brand, and they're like, let's go back to NBC, and I think, again, if that meeting actually happened as described, where they put a ridiculous price on it and NBC walked out, I think they might get a little more price conscious if they do that again, and Star Trek coming home to NBC might be a distinct possibility with Seth MacFarlane, because he's got to deal with Universal. NBC Universal, and that would be his dream job. It's what he wanted to do in the first place. Orville was a backup. Orville was taking his pitch, for his Star Trek pitch, filing out the serial numbers, and calling it, the Orville. So yeah, and again, that would be a case. I don't think there'd be a problem with him producing a Star Trek because he wouldn't necessarily have to be in it. Now maybe, again, as long as we're spitballing here, suppose that this does happen. NBC does buy back Star Trek. And then Seth MacFarlane gets put in charge. Would it really be that much of a stretch for that very special episode of Orville? So with special guest star John Delancey, where someone at the very end, snap of the fingers, and suddenly it's Star Trek Orville. I mean, it really would not have to change much. The interiors are a fine match for any Federation starship. Just change the uniforms. Don't have to, add a Vulcan or two, or recognizable alien amongst them. Keep them, keep the Mocklins, keep the whatever Dan is, the Kaelon, and even the Krill. There's more than one. There's room for more than one hostile race in the galaxy. And just boom, and you don't have to change anything, not even the backstories. This was an alternate universe, but it bled into this. Because I got a theory about alternate timelines. So they all try to hew towards one main timeline. They get offshoots here and there. Where it's because the theory of time being like a river, fluid, and occasionally hit a rock and you'll divert off, and what we've seen previously going back to fix the timeline is removing that rock, so the time restores the proper flow. But the fact is, the way you have parallel times, that we still have a Captain Kirk on the Enterprise, even though it's now the Terran Empire instead of the Federation. That's the timeline trying to realign itself, and eventually down the road, it eventually merges back into one timeline. And it's a matter of how different things are. And eventually, given thousands of years, there'll be no real difference, except in the history books. But that's another issue entirely. As far as tonight's episode goes, it's still a lot of, not much going on. Disguised by a good deal of pew pew and things crashing. But again, Picard gets told off by a female of type. Although this time even Picard gets in on the cussing game and talking about, you'll run the risk of pissing me off. Oh, really? Because he got tired of being cussed out and decided to cuss back in advance on his own. But although if they're going to be doing the hiking, I'm surprised no dune buggies. Why no dune buggies, damn it? But anyway, I'm not giving these things ratings because it's all one lumbering mess. So, and it's kind of, getting into the thing of, okay, fine, when is it over? So one more episode to endure. And we see what comes through the sky portal. Maybe it'll be Iron Man, falling down after, driving off those, whatever those were, stand-ins for the Skrulls. I don't know. Now I'm going to get off and then watch everyone else's review now that I finally see it myself. So PayPal, Patreon down below. We'll catch you later.